self-love. I keep thinking about this self-love. Is this self-confidence and self-assuredness, or is that a subset of what the book is about? Or
I think self-confidence, self-assuredness arises from there. I went for what is the most primal thing I could go for.
Yeah.
Everything else is, if it's not primal, you're still, you're not getting to the root cause. And if you go to the root cause, everything else arises from there. So every time I look back and I've had issues in my life since then, I've been failing there at the root cause.
Which is this is a great segue. You talk about this as a practice in the book. You talk about it as a practice. Why does it need to be a practice?
Because our brains are too wired to, over a lifetime to think a certain way. And if you, since my first career was trauma research and I studied biology, I had a degree in biology and economics, and neuroplasticity, like our brains are wired, like we basically lay down these pathways, and we kind of wired to lay down pathways that are fear-based, that respond to the environment for our survival. Modern day, they're flickering on every other second when they really shouldn't be. And we basically have these, we think we're thinking thoughts, but most of the time thoughts are just the same random thread. Yeah. Of anger, you may throw someone else in there, pull someone else out, it's the same thread. So my thesis was I'm going to create a new focused thread and make that the thread. And I found that it works. But to do that, it's like anything. It's like working out. It's like eating healthy, whatever. You got to make it a practice, because eventually, if you don't, the body reverts to what it was trained for over a lifetime.
By the way, I think that's why it was a mantra at the beginning, right? Because you were laying down new pathways.
Yes. And I still do it.
Yeah.
I still do it. And, the more obsessively I do it, the better life gets, the better I get.
Yeah. I think it might be a good time to talk about light switches. You want to spend a little time explaining what light switches are?
I'm trying to remember that chapter. It's been a while since I read it.
Since you read your own book?
Well, actually, you know what? I'm actually working on an expanded version of it right now. I just finished the third draft the other day.
Oh, okay. So I'll give you a little bit of help.
The Richard Bandler one?
So you're talking specifically about the vigilance to remain in light or love, and that for time to time it will, things will darken if you're.
Oh yeah. Light switches.
This notion of light switches.
Yeah, it was a metaphor that who did it come from? James. Basically, it's a metaphor for like, look, we are human, we are fallible. We know we're going to go through life, but things are going to happen. We're not going to revert to our best self always. We're going to revert to more often than not our worst self than our best self. So have certain things that we've set aside that we know that when we get there, do why. If I start to feel a certain way, do why. It switches me out. And it sounds easy. It's actually, and too easy, right? But the problem is, it's like anything, you got to make it a habit. You got to make it a consistent practice. So a light switch could be anytime you start to feel a certain way, you switch to loving yourself, right? You do it over time. Eventually what happens is you create the pathway where that starts to happen more on its own. Yeah. Which you start to realize, wow, that's beautiful. Like you're having stimulus, response, and the response is different. Yeah. And then from there, it's always better to be implicit loving yourself no matter what you're going through in life.
For sure.
Especially when it's not like, I don't mean self-esteem, because self-esteem can be certain. I've found some self-esteem to be fear-based. I'm talking about like a true, deep, authentic, pure, primal love for yourself. If you're in that place, that's when goodness comes.
So did your mind actually try to stop you from convincing yourself
all the time
that in fact you do love yourself? Is it like actively working against you, convincing yourself?
It's funny. The mind's a monkey. It really is a monkey, and it's powerful. Maybe you can look at the ego as like this whole structure that's been built over my life to think a certain way. If you start to force something else on it, it rebels, and that's where commitment comes in. Right. It's like same thing with like working out. If you never worked on your life and you go to the gym, and you go the first day and it's embarrassing and it's hard, and you come by and you just don't feel very good. It's easier for you to convince yourself, oh, that's not for me, or go for 5 days, or but you haven't changed your diet, you don't get health. Convince yourself, oh, I tried, didn't work. That's where commitment comes in. If you made a commitment, you'll stick with it, you'll see the results. Right.